back to another episode of Tech Check, now crossing 130 episodes and continuing to uncover and unpack what's going on in the Pakistan tech startup ecosystem. Today, I'm very happy to have another guest with us from the venture side, Mr. Saad Hasan from Sturgeon Capital. Saad, thanks for coming on the show.
It's my pleasure.
So let's jump right in like we do Tech Check style, Saad. Tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about Sturgeon Capital.
Sure. So I'm Saad. I've been in the tech industry, I guess, for around 10 years or so, both as a venture capital investor, late stage investor, private equity investor, as well as an operator myself. And I founded a company that got acquired in around 2017, 2018. And after that, visited Pakistan and fell in love with how early the ecosystem was, but saw all of the sort of grass, shoots of grass that you were seeing in terms of the soil was very fertile, and really thought, hey, I think if I don't sort of jump in right now, I won't necessarily get the experience of the full cycle. So basically, I've been a third culture kid all my life. Born and raised in Pakistan till I was 9, 10 years old, and then like many Pakistanis, moved to the Middle East, etc. Grew up in Qatar and Doha, then moved to Canada, then moved back to the Middle East, of course, like many third culture kids do, and then from there I moved to London and did my BSc in economics from the London School of Economics. Started working in investment banking at Morgan Stanley. Did a lot of fintech deals and late stage sort of remittance plays like TransferWise, etc. Working with family offices to ascertain at that point of time, venture was, of course, not what it is. It wasn't a very globalized product for sure, but a lot of advisory mandates were given out. Then sort of joined the late stage venture side with JLL, investing across markets, be it MENA or EMEA as well. And sort of really enjoyed my time at JLL in terms of really learning the ropes of late stage deals and seeing how companies can progress and accelerate past Series B, past Series C. Of course, we had a lot of advisory mandates for Series A and like Series B companies as well. And this was right at the time when clean tech was effectively at its peak, 2016. And so at JLL, because JLL is one of the largest property networks in the world in terms of the data we had at that time, really it was the jewel of effectively the prop tech world. And so we had lots of different companies like Uber, like Tesla, etc., come to us for advisory mandates and think about what's the future of mobility, for example, and how does it play out from a pure real estate play as well as from a prop tech sort of angle as well. While there, I met some of the Tesla management, some of the Uber management, etc. Really looked at ride sharing and saw that it was very early, even though Uber had been there since 2008. Mapping hadn't really evolved at that point of time to really capture all of what the infrastructure layer could be. And so we built a mapping as a service company in 2017. So I left my job at JLL, invested my money, and sort of built that company out. Started in Toronto, then sort of moved to the Valley and everything like that, and got some investors, scaled that company for 2 years, and we scaled it enough that larger mapping players started getting interested in us, and eventually we exited to a mapping roll-up fund in the private equity space, and then so I really didn't have anything to do at that point of time. I was trying to think about what really excited me when I first got into tech, into venture, and it was always fintech. To be honest, I always had a space for financial inclusion in my heart, and really that's what excited me the most in terms of how finance and technology can intersect and ideally create scenarios which build outcomes that will not be possible through conventional or traditional financial institutions, no matter how much they try. And so in Pakistan in 2019 or so, I got there actually for a friend's wedding, like many Pakistanis do, and really just sort of looked at WhatsApp penetration, for example, looked at social media penetration, looked at smartphone penetration, saw how, you know, so you sort of have an instinct at times in terms of you see things sort of develop around you and they develop very quickly. So from like January to February, etc., I was just in the country and I was visiting different parts, and I was quite surprised by how much Android had effectively taken over the ecosystem. If you remember in 2009, 2010, that was sort of my last sort of real sort of extended stay in Pakistan.
Hmm.
Um, it wasn't BlackBerry was effectively, most like a very small section of society had BBM, and that was about as much you could sort of rely on in terms of iPhones. Really not really out there too much, even though for the mobile sort of cycles were sort of skipping Pakistan altogether. You had the App Store, you had Android coming around 2012, 2013, I guess, and really smartphone penetration started increasing in 2015, right? And that huge growth in smartphone penetration really is what set the stage in 2018, 2019, where we saw a lot of different startups like Ikea in its early days. So I was actually working for a payments company, joined them after just chance. This was basically like a lot of it is sort of just met the right people, and they sort of introduced me to the ecosystem. At that point of time, the ecosystem was quite small, so it wasn't a lot of
Hmm.
meetings, to be honest.
Right.
Um, but generally, met my Ikea, met Fori. That was the company effectively that I was working with
Okay.
as the head of corporate development, and effectively working out their bank partnerships, etc., and really trying to scale the company in terms of the licensing process. Fori as a company, as a founder set, of course, very well stocked. Mehdi Hussain, Salim Rupani, some of the best founders in Pakistan that I've met. Uh,
Hmm.
Huge, technically gifted, really sharp business minds, and both of them have worked at companies like PicSense. If you remember that company, they worked effectively across the semantic product set, across the e-learning product set. Both had companies that got acquired, or were very much part of the success of companies that got acquired. Uh,
Right.
and so looking at the founder set there and saw really the payments opportunity, because payments are always the first layer of any technology, right?
Hmm.
And and so I said, okay, you know what? The payments company makes a lot of sense. We've got quite a lot of WhatsApp users, around 50 million or so. And really, there's only 10 million mobile banking users if you were to count monthly active users.
Sure.
So effectively, there's a huge gap in terms of number of people who have a smartphone in their hand and the number of people who want to use mobile banking services or fintech payment services, right?
Right.
And and that's where the opportunity set still lies in Pakistan. To be honest, I think no one's really cracked payments as of yet. You
Hmm.
think about Easy Paisa and Jazz Cash, etc. But if you really think about ubiquity or interoperability or the ability to effectively scale payments from, a very limited use case, which can be fast disappearing in terms of agent-based transfers, for example, and
Hmm.
and then move it into effectively the Venmo or the Zelle age.
Right.
That's a really large opportunity that's still out there.
Interesting. So just so you know, and Saad, your background is highly impressive, obviously, and you're bringing a lot to the table. I just wanted to. So what is the mission now, Sturgeon?
So Sturgeon Capital is a $280 million firm in terms of AUM that we manage. We've got a $20 million fund that we've deployed all over Pakistan, Central Asia, any frontier market, to be honest.
Got it.
Our next fund, effectively, we're concentrating in Pakistan, Bangladesh, Egypt, and Central Asia, of course, along
Okay.
with Eastern Europe, wherever we feel frontier markets exist and where we feel that there's a great opportunity to, ride the super cycles that they're all experiencing today.
Great.
Yep.
I was just going to say, and what are some of the specific plays that you're looking at or in Pakistan? So are you focused on fintech in Pakistan?
So we're actually focused on four somewhat related, but also so they can be quite intersectional. But
Okay.
four verticals being fintech, and really what I am looking for is fintech infrastructure. So
Okay.
things that are building the base layer of fintech, be they payments, be they, banking as a service sort of companies, and then fintech lending, because we've done our research and what we found is that, you know, it's all good and nice to have a payment instrument or an account, but really financial inclusion comes from democratized credit penetration.
Got it.
And that's what actually creates that sort of impetus for people to be able to get education loans, for people to be able to uh, get productive loans. So the MSME sector, for example, is one of the most under-penetrated sectors in terms of credit in Pakistan. So fintech lending is definitely something that we feel has a lot of legs, and we're already seeing some fantastic companies in our portfolio, including Abhi, for example, as well as
Yep.
that are doing an amazing job catering to the MSME and SME sector.
Great. I'm going to come up to my last question here, which is going to be essentially, what is it that Sturgeon sees coming in the next 3 to 5 years? We've got a lot of things that are changing in the landscape. So what are some thoughts around that?
So I think there's certain companies that don't need to change a lot. And there's certain markets which are so underpenetrated right now that you ideally have to sort of take a very traditional approach to technology. You got to think about network effects. You got to think about not replicating infrastructure too much. Really think about data structures and how they can ideally work to your advantage, and really think about how you want to solve specific problem sets. And your go-to-market strategy may change a little bit based on the macro environment, for example. So we're seeing that compared to the last 4 or 5 years, we're seeing a shift in effectively monetization becoming coming a little ahead of schedule. Of course, we are patient investors. We are also venture investors, so we of course have a fund to return. So we've got that sort of 10-year deadline whenever a fund is raised to effectively generate exits, etc. But what we're really aware of is that to have a comprehensive business that can become a monopoly position business with the ability to effectively really generate outsized returns, you have to take it the way the market perceives the opportunity. And, and you got to also then balance it with how the founder perceives the opportunity. And then you have to combine it with how the market perceives the opportunity. And really understanding product market fit, and taking it beyond the sort of conventional early majority, early minority state, and really making it ubiquitous across the population set. That's where we're actually looking at a lot of opportunities. And companies that have 18 to 24 months of runway today, they're in a position at this point of time to really, put their foot on the pedal and really drive growth in a very, very economical way, because it's no secret that performance marketing is generally what has to be utilized initially. We can try and mix up the marketing mix, the distribution mix a little bit, but at the end of the day, we're seeing a huge shift in the value that certain performance marketing can generate in the ecosystem, especially with the critical mass of smartphones in Pakistan expected to rise, quite dramatically as well. And we've seen it in other markets as well. You look at Indonesia, India, generally every 4 years, you see smartphone penetration double in terms of absolute numbers. You also see the GDP digitalization number double and triple over every 5 years. So it's quite a correlated sort of momentum-based strategy, where we feel the timing at this point of time is really very, very opportune, whereby things are making a lot more sense in terms of valuation. So there are effectively ways to control valuation to an aspect of business performance rather than business hope. And that allows for founders to effectively really, push down and think about how they can generate outsized returns through the investments they make in their own businesses as well.
Great. Well, this is fantastic, Saad. You bring a fairly educated point of view to the marketplace, and we really appreciate you coming on the show. We're running out of time here. So, first of all, I want to thank you very much for coming on and sharing your point of view and your background.
Thank you.
And to our audience, as you can see, continuing to unpack, unfold different perspectives, people working from different environments coming into Pakistan, still a very positive cadence. Let's keep that momentum going despite all that we're hearing. And with that, I ask you, please continue, like, share, and subscribe to our platform. We want to keep this train going. And I bid you all, Allah Hafiz.